Okay, so I've been doing Polymer clay for almost a year now. I've been doing it since either September or October, around that time, 2011, so late 2011. And so I can still consider myself a little bit new, but I'm still, I think I have progressed from when I first started, Polymer clay. So I think I do have some tips for you. I might make another video in the future, but for now this is what I have to say for Polymer clay beginners. The most important thing, obviously, for Polymer clay beginners is having Polymer clay. And there's many different brands of Polymer clay out there. There is Fimo, Sculpey, and this is not all my Polymer clay. This is unopened or newly opened Polymer clay, by the way. If you're like, wow, she barely has any. She's not talking. Yeah, I have more than this. And Craftsmart. There's other brands like Primo by Sculpey and Van Eycken clay, and Fimo soft. This is actually Fimo soft, but I don't have a normal Fimo, but they actually do have just Fimo, and then they have Fimo soft and Fimo effects and stuff like that. But we're just going to go with the basic brands. If I did have a Fimo, I'd show you that, but I don't, so I'm just kind of going to explain them. So Fimo you can find at any store, practically any craft store. Same with Sculpey. These are more expensive brands compared to Craftsmart and stuff like that. Craftsmart is a generic brand, meaning you can only find it at Michael's. It's just a store brand, so you can't find this at Joann's or Hobby Lobby or any other craft stores. You can only find this at Michael's. This is probably one of the cheapest clays out there. It's about $1 cheaper than Sculpey and Fimo. I love this clay. This is the clay I started out with, and I love it. It is probably one of my favorite Polymer clay brands. I think it is, just because of the prices. They don't have a wide variety, but it's just such a great price. So the next thing I definitely recommend for Polymer clay beginners is tools. Tools are great to have. These are one of the most important things because tools are what, kind of helps create your Polymer clay creations. So a blade, this is actually a flexible blade, which most Polymer clay blades are. You can get X-Acto knives and other type non-flexible blades. I believe the non-flexible blades that are really, really small, you can get at like any like hardware store.
5 minutes
And they're just really nice to have. Wire cutters or sharp scissors are great to, cut your Polymer clay like finding stuff, and I'll explain findings later if you guys don't know what they are. But yeah, I don't use wire cutters, but scissors work fine. And my cousin, she couldn't find her wire cutters or her scissors, so she used nail clippers, and her friend taught her to use those, and they work so good. So if you don't have any of those, just nail clippers are great, even though most people would have scissors. Other tools like just little stuff like this. These are actually Wilson fondant tools for cakes, but I use this tool for poking the hole in my donuts, so it's nice to have. Paintbrushes are also helpful for glazing and stuff and painting your Polymer clay creations, but we'll get into all that later. But paintbrushes are really nice to have. And a mat is such a great and a really important part of, doing Polymer clay, because you have a nice clean workspace. I know some people get tile, but if you're going the cheaper route, I'd probably get a mat. I mean, I don't really know how much tile is, but I'm sure it's not, the cheapest. And they just prevent, sticking as easily. Sometimes they can get sticky, but they're just a lot cleaner to use because you can just easily scrub it off. At least this one is washable, and it's just nice to use, and I definitely recommend it. One of the most important things as well is findings. If you want to turn your Polymer clay creations into charms, the eye pin is one of the most, the best finding, I believe, because it basically starts it all. You need the eye pin, or if you turn a head pin by looping the bottom part and turning it into an eye pin. But the eye pin, you could connect a jump ring, and then you can connect the jump ring to a chain, and there's a necklace. Or that's how to make your Polymer clay charm onto a necklace. So if you want you know, to use things like that. And I also, for painting kawaii faces on, like to make like the little eyeballs, I use head pins and the cheeks as well. So they're really nice to have. And I was talking about great brushes, I mentioned glaze, and this is Sculpey Gloss Glaze. There's other brands like Sculpey Satin Glaze, which is the same brand, but it's just satin glaze instead of gloss glaze. And then there's Triple Thick, and there's Studio Sculpey, and all that. Triple Thick, I believe, takes longer to dry, and it's obviously thicker, and this is shiny, but Triple Thick, I've seen it, and it's super shiny. So it makes sure, this is only one coat, but it does make it shinier. If you want it really shiny, use 2 coats. But Sculpey Gloss Glaze is amazing. There's satin glaze as well, but a lot of people, I think, find in gloss glaze a little bit more. I think most people use that if they use out of the two, I believe, because satin glaze doesn't give a glossy effect. So if you're looking for that shiny effect that a lot of Polymer clay users use in their charms, then I definitely go for this glaze. It takes about 30 minutes to do. It takes 30 minutes for one coat, then another 30 minutes for another coat, and then like to dry, like you do 30 minutes between 2 coats if you want to do 2 coats, and then to dry, it says it takes a day, but for me it only takes a couple hours. It seems like, I guess properly it takes a whole day, but to me, it works. Right when I feel like it's dry, like after a couple hours, I'm putting it in the Polymer clay box. So yeah. And I did mention having like a nice working space, but I'd also have a clean one as well. So using baby wipes is nice. It's a nice way to keep your workspace clean. So like before you do Polymer clay, I'd wipe it down. I don't do this, I always forget, but especially with white clay, dust, lint, and like hair, especially if you have dogs or cats or stuff like that, hair gets in it very easily, and dust and lint. And before you work on your space, if you want to keep your space really clean, I would definitely wipe it down with flushable, or not flushable wipes, just any type of wipes, baby wipes. They don't have to be flushable. I just was reading the package label and not thinking, but because it really will make a difference. But honestly, if you want to keep your Polymer clay super clean, you're going to have to wipe it down, the mat down, like probably every minute. So honestly, it's really hard to keep Polymer clay. Using chalk pastels or eyeshadows that you don't really care about using to shade is a great effect on your Polymer clay. I'll show you an example. So we have this baguette here, and it looks like that. Without it, it was just tan, but you can see the little baguette holes where they have the little shading. That is what makes it look so nice. And I use this e.l.f. eyeshadow palette that I don't really care for, like, I like it, but I'm fine with using it for Polymer clay. And so it's just a great way. If you don't have chalk pastels, I definitely recommend eyeshadow or blush or anything like that. So I do it normally after I glaze, or after I bake it, because once you bake, like, the stuff comes off, it rubs off. So when you glaze it, or when you bake it, and then you put the eyeshadow or chalk pastels on it, and then you glaze it, it will never come off. That's one of the things I love about glaze. Extra stuff that I really love, and you don't really need this, but they're really cool to have. If you do not want to buy colored clay, then I definitely recommend buying different colors of acrylic paints if you just want to use white clay. Also, I use pink, black, and white acrylic paints for adding kawaii faces to my Polymer clay creations. But I have so many Polymer clays, even before I started Polymer clay, I guess my parents had acrylic paints. I don't even know why, but yeah. So TLS is a great effect to add onto your Polymer clay as well, because you can make, like, see the purple stuff on this cake? I used TLS mixed with acrylic paints and made the frosting. And TLS is just great, but it's clear. It's kind of like Elmer's glue, where it dries, it looks white, but then once you bake it, it dries clear. So don't get fooled by the way it looks. If you want something white, then I would not just add TLS. I would mix it with chalk pastels, acrylic paint, or even Polymer clay. That's what Tony Allison does. Sometimes she'll mix her TLS with just white acrylic paint, or not white acrylic paint, white Polymer clay, and it will look really cool. Scribbles are great too. I use the top part on this cake. I use this scribbles in the color hot chocolate, and I don't bake scribbles. I don't even know if you can, but I don't because it doesn't say like bakeable or anything. So this is actually for foam. It's puffy paint, but a lot of people use it for chocolate drizzle and stuff like that. Then the next is silicone. Silicone is definitely, I don't think, bakeable at all. I'm pretty sure it's flammable. And it's not even meant for clay at all. It's not even in the crafting facility. Actually, you find this at hardware stores. We went to Lowe's and I bought this. And silicone is for making whipped cream dollops and using Decodent. And you can like research Decodent and all that, but I'm not going to explain it. But this is my first time using silicone. I haven't used it yet for polymer clay and stuff. I've made homemade silicone, which you can actually bake. But I've never used like this silicone for polymer clay. So yeah,